Welcome, welcome, Daniel. How are you?
Great. How are you?
I'm great. I didn't see you down there. I'm glad that Chris told me that you were in the green room because they were hidden underneath the part of my computer where I can't see you. So you heard Miss Deb Dooley. So you hear what's going on down in Georgia.
Yeah, and I recently did a dive into Georgia. Georgia's got the same problem we have, and no one else has said anything about it. And that is their affidavit problem. Is their affidavit problem also? In other words, they're simply calling it an oath envelope. Well, an oath to who? And who is swearing the oath? Who's authenticating it? It's the same thing, right? You can call that return envelope an affidavit envelope all you want, but if there's no notary certificate, there's no legitimacy to the instrument, and it can't be admissible on a challenge.
I love it. I mean, we've got to blast this to the rooftop. So talk to us about, like I said to Deb, we're going to talk about the machines and what's going on with you. And here in New Hampshire, bring Deb back on and we can go back and forth and compare some notes, because everybody thinks it's, it's just you MAGA people. It's just New Hampshire. It's just Georgia. Oh, you're this, you're that. And like you said, there's parallels and similarities, and they're constitutional issues. They're legal issues, and people are poo-pooing them. So dive on in and tell us what's going on with your case and where we are with the machines, the latest news.
Well, there's no opinion from the state Supreme Court yet, and so I can only comment on what's recent public testimony, and that is Secretary of State Scanlon. So that requires me to back up a little bit. Okay. The voting machines, the continuation of using them here in New Hampshire has been ongoing in direct parallel to my lawsuit. I had a meeting with Secretary of State Scanlon the other day, and he confirmed exactly what my thought was, which was they've already taken a legal position. They're not going to alter the legal arguments they've taken, which is they believe that what they did was acting within the scope of their enumerated powers. And so they're not going to roll over and stop the full court press of moving forward with acquiring these new election devices. So they're not stopping at all. They have no plans on doing so until a court tells them to stop. They're not going to stop. So this has been going on parallel, their attempts to sow the creation of standards. What I found was after I filed my amended complaint over my concerns over the safety of the machines, when they cut out the ribbon cables and cut out the modems to alleviate the concern of the machines being accessed externally, the problem is that they voided the safety certification on the machines, because all those old Dominion machines that are in service now are operating, one, on a waiver, two, that they don't meet any standards at all, but the waiver from the safety factor has been waived because they would have to submit all of them back to United Laboratories, and United Laboratories has told them that they were not going to consider recertifying this old equipment because the software that they use to manage the equipment is no longer supported by Microsoft, and therefore both the software and the hardware, the company that manufactured the device, is no longer producing replacement parts that can be, quote, certified and standardized and be authenticated. This is a big deal, right? And this is also, by the way, these are all parts of the new requirements that are being asked of by the Secretary of State. And so it's fascinating that they're putting these things in place and already looking for waivers, by the way.
So when you say explain waiver, and who are they getting it from?
Well, the old machines never were presented for any type of standardized national standard of testing, right? Okay. So they weren't subjected. Now there's an organization, the federal government created a voluntary guide called, I forget the acronym. I know the acronym, it's VVSG, and this new standard is 2.0. And so that's the voluntary standardized testing put out there so the states would have some benchmark to shoot for.
Okay.
And so they put that out there. And so what they're saying is that the current machines don't meet any standards, and the new machines have yet to be submitted for any testing at all. So they don't meet, even though they've led the Ballot Law Commission and the Secretary of State into believing that they would be ready in time. But a series of events has happened where that's actually no longer true. And that should be breaking news. We went from the LHS is the vendor for Dominion.
Right.
So that's New Hampshire's vendor. They went from telling the Secretary of State's office and the Ballot Law Commission that they fully intended to meet these voluntary guidelines, these national standards for efficacy and, control and so on and so forth. And all these guidelines have been put forward to make sure that these things can do their job properly and some type of standard to test to.
Yep.
And so having put all that forward, now they went from, well, we're not sure they're going to be ready to we're no longer willing to submit our equipment for testing. Yeah.
No, wait a minute. So
David Scanlon, the Secretary of State. Yeah, the Secretary of State said on this February 1st that Dominion or LHS has now advised them that they are no longer willing at this time to prepare their machines that were manufactured before the standard that is now being asked of them was actually classified. So they've got a big problem, and no one's being truthful about any of this. So they're already looking for waivers. In the lead up to the presentation of this new equipment, they also asked for the Ballot Law Commission to be able to grant waivers to not meet and obtain these waivers for not meeting certain rules. Yeah, it's all out of control. It's bad.
So that would mean this is really unbelievable. It's one thing, we can't meet the standards. We're running behind, blah, blah, blah. But to say they are unwilling to put these brand new machines up against voluntary or otherwise federal standards for these machines for safety, efficacy, everything, that they meet the standards, which is what this is unbelievable. I'm literally out of words for this one. This is huge. And
yeah.
Do they really have private software? And why do they have private software? I would think it should be open to anybody.
Listen, this should make everyone upset. They're supposed to go online in 2 weeks. So March 1st, they're supposed to be online. And now they've announced that they're not going to meet the certification deadline. So the Ballot Law Commission has said, well, fine, we'll just hand count. Well, if we're just going to hand count, where is the honest discourse from the Secretary of State's office to all the towns to prepare for a hand count? Because in this back and forth, the vendor for LHS has said, hey, look, we've told the state, we never promised them a rose garden. We never promised them that we would continue to support this aging equipment to any certain date, because we can't. We have told the state for a long time that these things are getting old and A, B, and C are in fact true. So, yeah. So now they're no longer willing to prepare these things. And so now what are they going to do? They were looking for a waiver, by the way, and the Ballot Law Commission granted them a waiver to these rules, but not a waiver to the time. So the Ballot Law Commission is saying, hey, look, we've given you enough time. If you're not going to get ready, we're not going to give you a waiver to let you rent them out. This is what they want to do. This is what LHS just proposed. You have to, I don't want to get into the technicalities of reading the text, okay?
No.
But LHS has proposed to the Ballot Law Commission that since these things are already manufactured, ready to go, they can be installed. It's just that the state has put in these pesky rules. If you would just give us this waiver, we could put them in on a temporary basis. Again, here we go. Why do you think Jim Gray is looking for modification of a temporary basis? We'll put them in on a temporary basis until we meet these standards. We're no longer willing to submit this equipment to be judged by.
So
you can't make this up. I want to scream.
So for 2024, we're going to rent uncertified, non-tested, non-compliant machines, Dominion machines, for the 2024 election.
And give them, hold on, and give them till 2026 to get them certified.
How do you use non-certified machines in a huge national presidential election? Which leads me to believe, so if they've had the waiver for a while, if they've been telling the state for a while that these machines are old, 35 years plus, somebody's lying.
Well, the new ones.
No, I'm talking about the old ones. So when
yeah.
he's claiming that he's told the state, they've told the state for a while that these machines are old, they're adulterated, we can't support the software, blah, blah, blah. I wonder if that was true for the 2020 election. Do we see a pattern here?
Right.
Trump, 2020, 2024, uncertified. I'm sorry, you can't do 2024 till you redo 2020 based on what you just said.
We have a problem, Houston.
We do. Oh my God. Let's bring on Miss Deb Dooley, because I see she's got ants in her pants.
Oh, yes. Let me tell you, there's so many similarities. Okay. Part of the things that came out, we've got the transcript of Curling v. Raffensperger. Georgia's voting machines are not properly certified either. None of them are. They actually, in, I think it was 2019, the Raffensperger in the Georgia Secretary of State's office was using a company called Fortalice to actually, do vulnerability assessments on the machine. This was 2019. And after the report came in, nobody read it except SOS. All of a sudden, they've sealed it. And they're saying, okay, we're going to do our own certification in-house. So they hired former Dominion employees to do it. And they, they decided, okay, Fortalice, we're going to seal the report. And word is they were found multiple vulnerabilities or were able to hack the machine. So Secretary of State said, we're sealing the report. And they asked the judge, Totenberg, to seal the report, just like they wanted the Haldeman report sealed. And so they were no longer using Fortalice. They are certifying in-house former Dominion employees. And it came out during this Curling v. Raffensperger hearing. They had members of Secretary of State. He used to be the chief operating officer of the elections division in 2020. And one of the plaintiff's attorney asked him, isn't it true that Fortalice was able to hack into the machine or found vulnerabilities? And all of a sudden, just rapidly, immediately, soon as the words got out of the plaintiff's attorney's mouth, object, object, object. They objected to the question being answered. They said, oh, it's proprietary and we don't want the information out. And it's ridiculous. I've got email chain from 2020 with the Fulton County Election Office. One of the election workers actually opened up a ticket. He had a laptop. This was October of 2020. And he said somebody connected to the laptop remotely. He could see the cursor moving. He could see files deleted. And multiple workers could not figure out what was going on. They tried disconnecting the Wi-Fi, all that. It was still going on. And at that point, Fortalice was doing their tech support for the equipment. And I've got an email from a Fortalice person, and he is saying, we will be glad to actually work this issue, but you need to call us and not use email because phone calls are not discoverable. So we want phone calls, and we've got an NDA with the Secretary of State's office, so we don't want emails reporting this. And this is no joke. It is
Plausible
totally
deniability.
out of control. Yes,
Yeah.
totally out of control with
Wow.
what's going on.
What did you say, Daniel?
Plausible deniability.
Bingo.
So you've got, this is blowing my mind. You cannot have employees certifying their own machines. That has to be done by proper authorities, OSHA, companies, UL, the ones with the little tags, the sticky tags that's on everything. If you take it off your toaster or your pillow, you're going to get arrested. So how that double HELL are they getting away with this with voting machines where their own employees are certifying them? They're going to do it in-house? I'm sorry, that's not how it works.
Lynn, let me separate two different things. First of all, my lawsuit exploited the fact that the United Laboratory Safety certification was voided when they cut the modems, right?
Correct.
Because I knew that they had no certification for anything. So I said, let me prove to the court that the basic safety certification for anyone handling the equipment, anyone getting near it, people with pacemakers, people like our friend Wayne that have health issues that can't get near these devices that operate.
Implants, pacemakers, defibrillators, all those things that could be affected by the electronic field.
Exactly. So when you have an unsafe electronic field, that's why all appliances that are in the public domain have to meet some type of safety certification. But I knew that the state hadn't even met, not only had they voided those, the United Laboratory Safety seal that was on them, but that they had not complied with any certification at all. And now what we're talking about is what Deb is alluding to, is that this new standard, this voluntary voter guideline has been created by the federal government. This election law committee has created this ability to, or some guidelines for the states that don't have any statutes on the books, for them to be able to have guidelines as to what to do. And so that's what New Hampshire, that's what we're talking about up here. And in many instances, what they're doing is they're simply giving the facade of putting these things in place and then in fact not obeying them at all.
Well, it's a violation of Georgia law. Georgia law does have the guidelines in place. Unfortunately, there's not really a whole lot that can be done. The legislature is taking great steps to rein in the out of control Secretary of State's office. And they're doing a lot of doing a lot of things. But this year, in the Georgia legislature, the Republicans have very clearly had enough of Brad Rattensperger, and they're going to cut his budget. He's not going to get what he wants, and they're going after him, and he's fighting tooth and nail. He's fighting tooth and nail to prevent the state election board from being able to investigate his office. Well, somebody needs to. We have an attorney general that's as worthless as I don't know what. Our attorney general, Chris Clark, is as worthless as a blind seeing eye dog. That's how bad. That's how bad he is.
Sounds like our attorney general. we're looking at absolutely useless, out of control Secretary of State, AG, and they are just breaking laws right, left, and center, interpreting it, any way that they want, and they've got the justice system going, oh yeah, well, that's your opinion. What happened to people reading the law? What happened to people reading what the Constitution says, which is what Daniel does? I mean, in his case back 2 years ago in November, Wayne, he's an expert in this. He was the expert witness, and the Attorney General's office walked out, and they had no problem looking at him going, "You're not getting on the stand." And they blocked Daniel's expert in the whole United States from testifying to safety certification. They blocked him and would not let him on the stand. How does this stuff happen? You want to talk to
these elected officials think they're all powerful, and it takes the grassroots saying, no, you're not. And standing up, and the key is to keep fighting and not to give up. We've got to be like the Energizer Bunny. We got to keep on and keep on and keep on and not stop. And
Amen.
Look what's happening in Georgia when you have Democrats file legislation to do away with these Dominion touchscreens and move to hand-marked paper ballots. Who would have thought that? I wouldn't have, but they did today, and I was tipped off. I had somebody that knows them let me know what was going on, and that they were doing this and asking me, hey, can you please get Republican support for it? So, I mean, who would have figured?
Who would have figured? Daniel, talk about the absentee ballots, the similarities, and go over for people, because the understanding for me is, you have absentee ballots, and originally there was only, 2 reasons: you were out of the country or you were disabled. It then the religious exemption was added, and so then there were 3. But in adding that, we lost the actual legal, the only way you could get into court and bring paperwork in, affidavit. And so that was moved out of the way, and then they made these affidavit envelopes, and you called the Georgia one something else. Fill that in on the similarities and why that is a big problem with elections.
Each of the states that I've looked at beyond New Hampshire has the same problem, and that is when you look at the requirements for you to vote at the local level, right? You walk in, most polling places require you produce an ID, and after authenticating that you are a registered voter in that district, they hand you a ballot, and you go off and you mark your ballot within the secure area. And then when you get done, you go and deposit your ballot in either a voting machine or a ballot box, depending on whether your jurisdiction does either or both. And so when absentee voting here in New Hampshire was created, and I'm sure it's the same in all other states, because it all seems to be the same period of time, World War II. World War II seems to be the legitimate reason for granting people the right to vote when they're out fighting for keeping us all safe abroad, right?
Yep.
So it appears that seems to be the timeline for all of it. Now, what they did here is they put in the same sequence of events so that the absentee voter would be permitted to vote absentee for 2 exemptions. And those 2 exemptions would still require you to go through the same process because of the equal protection clause of the state and federal constitution. In other words, they had to vote the same way, go through the same steps that you would go through. And so here in New Hampshire, they gave you 5 ways to do it. The moderator, the selectman or the clerk, which are your local public officials, right, that are your election law officials, and then a justice of the peace or a notary, right? And all 5 of them are capable of swearing an oath under law so that they could administer an oath so that you could arrive with your ballot that's not marked, hand them your ballot, authenticate, they would check your ID, verify that you're a registered voter in that community, and then have you mark your ballot within the public venue where they are. And then when you get done with all of that, they would watch you fold your ballot, insert it in the envelope, you'd sign it. The voter would sign the envelope, and then the notary or any of those 5 elected officials would authenticate and certify that you indeed marked your ballot in front of a state official authorized to administer an oath. And that's how you authenticate absentee ballots. If you don't do that, if you don't authenticate, then who does? Because then the moderator here in New Hampshire is required to make sure that that affidavit was properly executed. If it's not properly executed, if there's no notary seal or your local election law official who's authenticated that you indeed voted in front of them, right? You did the election business in front of a public official. That's really key. It's not just the notary certificate. It's going through the election process in front of someone, not just a free reign, not just the fact that, gee, if the moderator doesn't check these things and he simply removes absentee ballots out of these envelopes that in Georgia are called envelopes of an oath, right? They're simply asking the Georgia voters to swear an oath. Who's that oath being sworn in front of? Because virtually under common law, you have to swear or attest to something in front of someone authorized by law to administer an oath. Otherwise, it's not binding, right? It takes two people to swear to something for it to be true.
Right.
I agree. And let me tell you what else is required since 2021 when SB 202 was passed. You actually have to include your driver's license or your state ID number to show that you're who you really are. And you have to do that when you request an absentee ballot and when you turn your absentee ballot in. But as far as swearing the oath, you could have a witness or whatever. I mean, that's really you sign it just like you said. Hey, it's not in front of a notary or anything like that. You just do it yourself, and you take an oath.
That's how dead people vote, right?
I know.
Because no one's checking. No one's checking who they are.
So
no, but their driver's license, and the Democrats pitched a fit because they didn't believe that. And if you don't have a driver's license, they offered state IDs that you can use free of charge, or you can present a utility bill that's got the address you're voting from and make a copy of it. But no longer can you just turn your ballot in without some way of authenticating who you really are.
Well, the thing that really disgusts me is they keep saying it's an absentee ballot because we can't come in. We're either physically not there or we're disabled. So it's making another class of people. We have to show up. We're registered. We're on the list.
Right.
It doesn't matter Republican or Democrat. We're on the list. We make sure we're the correct list. We have the correct address. We're always making sure our name is spelled correctly, that everything is legal. And we go there and you present your, I'm a ballot clerk, so I know you present your license and you call your name out. I don't make them do it very loud because I think that's personal information. And I check the address. They check the address. We make sure we're giving them the right ballot, that everything's hunky-dory. They take it. They go, again, as Daniel said, to a secure, roped-off area. They fill out their ballot. They walk through the secure area. You can't come out of it to go to the machine or a ballot box and place it in there. They watch you, the selectmen and council people watch you put it in, and then you get a sticker if you're a good little citizen and you run off. So that's the process we have to go through. But yet absentee ballots, in its original concept, I get it, but it was legally certified. It was legally properly executed. And now, Bobby can go down to the basement, and I'm not really being sarcastic, but I am a little bit, but this is what's going on. Bobby gets his absentee ballot, and Bobby goes down to the basement and he fills it out and goes, ooh, I'm all excited, folds it up, puts it in the envelope, signs it, and mails it back because, oh, I can't come in. I'm special. Never, no one can say it wasn't marked. Nobody can say he signed it. Nobody can say Bobby filled it out, and nobody notarized his signature. He just sent it back, and everybody said, isn't this wonderful? It's an absentee ballot. That makes me a second-class citizen. That makes me nothing. And we have to go through all these security measures, and they can do it in their stinking basement. I'm sick.
Yep.
What say
It's
you?
crazy. And then let's talk about them going into nursing homes. That the Democrats, yeah, they take advantage of folks in nursing homes. So that there needs to be legislation to stop that as well.
So
and it should have to be a family member that signs off for them to get, if they can't fill it out themselves, why are they voting?
Right there. So we're looking at old machines, new machines that are not safety certified, they're not OSHA certified, they're not integrity certified. We're looking at absentee ballots that are illegal and unconstitutional because there's no affidavit, no notary, no proof of a signature. We're looking at, we the registered voters not being protected. I mean, and what else are we going to add to it? Ballot stuffing, nursing homes. I mean, we are looking at elections that are being absolutely robbed and stolen and, pardon me, people, bastardized on multiple levels.
Bingo.
And we're supposed to be okay with this? I'm not okay with this. What say you,
Nope.
Danny?
Nothing's been fixed. So hopefully we'll get an opinion out of the court here like ASAP. We need one.
I love it, and we can't stop fighting. So thank you both, and I'm glad you finally got to be together on the show.
I am too, Daniel. We need to stay in touch and share information.
I'll send each other's contacts to you so you guys can keep up on it, because it looks like we've got mirror image states.
Yep.
Same thing going on.
Both have rhino governors that hate Donald Trump and hate MAGA.
It's true. Amen. Amen.
Amen. All right. Blessings to all. I'll talk to you soon.
All right. God bless.
God bless.